Breaking news coming in right now. Shannon Sharpe has been fired from ESPN. This is huge, y'all. We're getting word from The Athletic that ESPN has officially cut ties with Hall of Fame tight end Shannon Sharpe following the settlement of his $50 million SALT lawsuit just weeks ago. This is a developing story, and we're going to break down everything we know right now. Shannon Sharpe, who's been a staple on ESPN's First Take since 2023, is out at the network effective immediately. Let me break down exactly what led to this moment, because this story has been building for months. Back in April 2025, a woman going by Jane Doe filed a $50 million lawsuit against Shannon Sharpe, accusing him of sexual assault, battery, and rape. The lawsuit claimed that what started as a consensual relationship turned controlling and abusive. Shannon immediately denied all allegations, calling them false and disruptive, and announced he was stepping away from ESPN to deal with the legal situation. He said at the time, "I plan to return to ESPN at the start of the NFL preseason." ESPN supported his decision back then, saying, "This is a serious situation, and we agree with Shannon's decision to step away." But here's the thing, Shannon has been off ESPN's airwaves for over 3 months now. He completely disappeared from First Take and hasn't been seen on any ESPN programming since April. Just 2 weeks ago, Shannon settled the lawsuit for an undisclosed amount. The woman's attorney, Tony Busby, announced the case was dismissed with prejudice, meaning it can't be reopened. And now, ESPN has made their decision. Shannon Sharpe is out. According to The Athletic's Andrew Marchand, who broke this story, ESPN has decided to permanently cut ties with the 57-year-old Hall of Famer. This isn't a suspension, this isn't a temporary break, this is a firing. What makes this even more shocking is that Shannon had just signed a multi-year contract extension with ESPN in 2024. He was supposed to have an expanded role on First Take after leaving Fox Sports and Undisputed with Skip Bayless. ESPN has confirmed the report but hasn't provided any additional comment about the decision. Shannon himself hasn't released a statement about being fired either. This is absolutely massive for ESPN and for Shannon's career. He went from being one of their biggest stars to being completely cut from the network. This firing has huge implications for everyone involved. For ESPN, this shows they're taking a zero-tolerance approach when it comes to serious allegations against their talent. Even though Shannon settled the case and it's legally resolved, Disney and ESPN clearly decided they couldn't have him back on their airwaves. For First Take, this leaves a massive hole in their lineup. Shannon had incredible chemistry with Stephen A. Smith, and his absence has already been felt for months. Now they know it's permanent and need to find a long-term replacement. For Shannon, this is a career-defining moment. He's lost his platform at the biggest sports network in the world. However, he still has his wildly successful Club Shay Shay podcast and Nightcap show, which have been thriving during his ESPN absence. The question now is, will other networks be willing to work with Shannon, or has this controversy made him radioactive in traditional sports media? The sports media world is already buzzing about this news. Stephen A. Smith had previously said on the Big Boy TV podcast back in May that he hoped for an outcome that would allow Shannon to return, but he knew Shannon couldn't stay on air during the lawsuit. Former ESPN commentator Dan Le Batard predicted this back in June, saying, "I think we can reasonably assume that Shannon Sharpe would like it to look like he has a chance to return. I don't know that you can be Disney and allow any of what happened there." Turns out, Le Batard was absolutely right. Disney and ESPN decided they couldn't bring Shannon back, even with the lawsuit settled. This decision sends a clear message to all ESPN talent about the standards and expectations the network has for their on-air personalities. So what happens next for both Shannon and ESPN? For Shannon, he's still got his podcast empire running strong. Club Shay Shay continues to get major interviews and huge viewership numbers. Just yesterday, he posted content featuring his brother Sterling Sharpe's Hall of Fame induction celebration. His podcast network gives him independence that he didn't have at ESPN, and frankly, he might be making more money from those ventures than he was at ESPN anyway. For ESPN and First Take, they need to figure out their permanent hosting structure. They've been operating without Shannon for months, but now they know they need a long-term solution. The question is whether Shannon will address this firing publicly or just continue focusing on his podcast work. He's been pretty quiet about the whole legal situation and hasn't made many public statements. Here's the bottom line, y'all. This is the end of Shannon Sharpe's run at ESPN. From joining the network in 2023 after his successful run at Fox Sports, to becoming a key part of First Take, to now being completely cut from the network, it's been a wild journey that's ending in controversy. Whether you think ESPN made the right decision or not, this shows that even settling a lawsuit doesn't guarantee you'll keep your job when serious allegations are involved. Shannon Sharpe's traditional TV career might be over, but his podcast empire continues to grow. Sometimes losing one door opens another, and Shannon's independent media ventures might end up being more valuable than any TV contract. This is a developing story, and we'll continue to follow it as more details emerge. Make sure you're subscribed because we'll have all the updates as they happen. That's your breaking news update. Shannon Sharpe is out at ESPN. More coverage coming soon.